Hi guys, shalom, shalom. Back again with another message. More to tell you guys about Babylon, Dubai. More confirmation on Dubai being the land of Shinar, which is Babylon. We're going to talk about Lilith and the land of Shinar and Babylon. Lilith is the queen of heaven that they're worshiping and they're not supposed to be. Don't get Lilith, the queen of heaven, confused with the Holy Spirit, wisdom, great mother, because they are two different entities. If you read Proverbs 9, it tells you wisdom and foully contrasted. Even the title is telling you that when you contrast something, you're talking about two different entities. So it starts off and it tells you about wisdom, and then it tells you about folly. But I want to start here with Zachariah 5:5. And it say, Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roe. And he said unto me, What seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roe. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. Then said he unto me, This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For every one that stealeth shall be cut off, as on the side according to it, and every one that sweareth shall be cut off, as on the sides according to it. It will bring it forth, saith the Lord of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief, and into the house of him that swore falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof, and the stones thereof. Then the angel that talked with me went forth and said to me, Lift up now thine eyes, and see what is and see what it is, and see what is this that goeth forth. And I said, What is it? And he said, This is an ephah that goeth forth. He said, Moreover, this is their resemblance through all the earth. And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead, and this is a woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephah. And he said, This is wickedness. And he cast it into the midst of the ephah, and he cast the weight of lead upon the mouth thereof. So he said, This is a woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephah. Then lifted up mine eyes, and I'm telling you guys, the woman is Lilith, and we're going to talk more about it. Then I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, there came out two women, and the wind was in their wings, for they had wings like the wings of a stork, and they lifted up the ephah between the earth and the heaven. Then said I, the angel that talked with me, Whither do these bear the ephah? And he said unto me, To build it an house in the land of Shinar, and it should be established and set there upon her own base. So it say, Lilith is building her home in the land of Shinar. I'm gonna show you some pictures of Lilith, because a lot of people mix Lilith up with the Great Mother. I guess a good picture to show you is the Nana. This is Lilith. And you see that she has these owls here. Okay, keep that in mind, because we're going to read Isaiah 34. And it says, Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people, let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations, and his fury upon all the armies. He hath utterly destroyed them, he hath delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood, and all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. What did we just read? In the last chapter, that he's seen as a flying scroll. And it say, All the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and their host shall fall down, and the leaf thereof and the leaf falleth off from the vine, and and as a falling fig from the fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my cursed judgment. And Idumea is another word for Edom, and that's from Yemen to Dedan, Saudi Arabia. The sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs the goats, and with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Lord hath a sacrifice in Basra, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. And the unicorn shall come down with them, and the bullocks with the bulls, and their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. And the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. And a volcano is going to erupt. We talked about that, Mount Etna. Mount Etna is over there in that area, and the must is going to be able to reach that as far as that. So pay attention, guys. Saying the streams thereof shall burn into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone. So the streams, they say that volcano is going to fall into the river. Into the sea. So it's saying the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone. And one of my subscribers, a very smart guy, he had actually put brim being the edge of the volcano, like he put the whole thing down. And the land thereof shall become burning pitch. It shall not be quenched night nor day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever, from generation to generation. It shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. But the commemorant and the bittern shall possess it. The owl, remember we talked about the owl. Well, Lilith, pay attention. The owl also and the raven shall dwell in it, and he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. They shall call the nobles thereof to the kingdom, but none shall be there, and all her princes shall be nothing. And thorns shall come up in her palaces. Needles and whose palace? We're gonna figure out whose palace. It should come up in her palaces. Whose palace? Lilith's. Needles and brambles and fortresses thereof, and it shall be an habitation of dragons, and a court for owls. A court, you know what a court is? A court is what they used to call it for the kings and the queens. My court, you would come to the king's court or to the queen's court. So it say in a court for owls. Lilith is the owl. The wild beast of the desert shall meet with the wild beast of the island. Now let me explain this to you. The wild beast of the desert, that's the beast, that's the first beast, Babylon. The beast of the desert, the wild beast of the desert, Babylon, will meet with the wild beast of the island, the wild beast of the Isles, the European Union. So now we got this thing called the Union of Mediterranean, which is it consists of the European Union and the Mediterranean area, which is Saudi Arabia, etc. And it say, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow. The screech owl shall rest there and find for herself a place of rest. Well, where did we was told that she was going? To the land of Shinar. There shall be the great owl. There shall the great owl make her nest and lay and hatch and gather under her shadow. There shall the vultures also be gathered, every one with her mate. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. No one of these shall fail. None shall want her mate. For my mouth it hath commanded, and his spirit it hath gathered them. And he hath cast the lot for them, and his hand hath divided it unto them by line. They shall possess it forever, from generation to generation, so they dwell therein. Okay. And we know Babylon, Shinar, is where the Tower of Babel was. We can start with Genesis 11 and say, and the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And remember, we talked about in the last video, what was it? I believe it was the video before last about about Nebuchadnezzar being the first beast and how he had power over all tongues, nations, and languages. So keep that in mind. They say the whole earth was of one language and of one speech, and it came to pass as they journeyed from the east. They found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach into heaven. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord come down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down and there confound their language, that they might not understand another speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. These are the generations of Shem. Okay, so it didn't give us the generations of Shem. But Shem, it's important to understand that Shem was the first king of Babylon. That's why it goes to give us the generations of Shem, because Shem was the first king of Babylon, and people don't know that. So you can see Shem, king of Babylon, Sam. So it says Shem, renowned prosperity, name standard, was one of the sons of Noah. He was most popularly regarded as the eldest son, though some traditions regard him as the second son. No, he was the eldest son. Refer to the relative ages of Shem and of his brother Japhet, but the sufficient ambiguity in each to have yielded different translations. So that's about which one is older, which Shem is older. It's always recorded with Shem being the first. But yeah, so and then you can clearly see that Shem was king of Babylon, because it tell you that they made Babylon, and then they say um and say, scatter them abroad upon the face of the earth, and they called it Babel. Da, 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 da. And then say these are generations of Shem. So keep that in mind. The land of Shinar is Dubai. Oops. Okay. The land of Shinar is Dubai. Looking for this article I was reading. Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Kalnai. We know that all these places is in the Middle East. But if you watch my previous video, you'll understand why I said Dubai is Babylon and the land of Shinar. Okay, I looked that up earlier and I'll come later and I'll come back with another video about that. I want to talk about Lilith and the owl and the Bohemian Grove. Okay. The Bohemian Grove is they think the owl has to do with Moloch. I think it has to do with Lilith, the Queen of Heaven. Moloch and Lilith.